Good morning, children. Today I am going to start with the nervous system of frog. The nervous system is divided into the central nervous system, peripheral nervous system, and autonomous nervous system. Peripheral nervous system consists of 10 pairs of cranial nerves and 10 pairs of spinal nerves. Autonomic nervous system is divided into sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. The function of autonomic nervous system or control involuntary function of visceral organs. Central nervous system consists of the brain and spinal cord. Brain is situated in the cranial cavity and covered by two meninges called pyometer and durameter. Actually, in human also the brain is covered with the meninges, but the number of layer covering the brain is three membranes: pyometer, durameter, and arachnoid membrane in human. But in case of frog, it is two in number. Only pyometer and durameter are present. The brain is divided into three regions as like ours. There is forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain. About forebrain, it is otherwise called as prosencephalon, is the anterior most and largest part consisting of a pair of olfactory lobe and cerebral hemisphere and diencephalon. So about the brain is divided into three regions: forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain. Forebrain otherwise called as prosencephalon, and which is the largest part. It is divided into three regions: olfactory lobes, cerebral hemisphere, and diencephalon. Anterior part of the olfactory lobe is narrow and free but is fused posteriorly. The olfactory lobes, please refer the diagram, children, contain a small cavity called olfactory ventricle. The olfactory lobe consists of a small cavity called as olfactory ventricle. And about midbrain, otherwise called as mesencephalon, it includes two large oval shaped structure called optic lobe and also consists of a cavity inside of it called optic ventricles. Next, hindbrain otherwise called as rhombencephalon, which consists of the cerebellum and medulla oblongata. Cerebellum, which is a narrow thin transverse band, followed by medulla oblongata. The medulla oblongata passes out through the foramen magnum and continues as spinal cord, which is enclosed in the vertebral column. Okay. About hindbrain, it consists of two regions. One is cerebellum and medulla oblongata. Cerebellum, which is a narrow thin transverse band, followed the cerebellum, medulla oblongata is present. Medulla oblongata passes through the foramen of magnum and continued as spinal cord, which is present inside the vertebral column. Okay, in hindbrain of human consists of pons as an extra structure in the hindbrain. Okay, this is about structure of nervous system in frog. Next, we are going to see excretory system of frog. Elimination of nitrogenous waste and salt and water balance are performed by a well developed excretory system. The excretory system consists of a pair of kidneys, ureters, urinary bladder, and cloaca. Kidneys are dark red, long, flat organs situated on either side of the vertebral column in the body cavity. So, kidney, its location, the color of the kidney are dark red, long, flat organs which is situated on either side of the vertebral column in the body cavity. The type of kidney are mesonephric. Several nephrons are found in each kidney. They separate nitrogenous waste from the blood and excrete urea. So, frog are called as ureotelic organism. So, the kidneys consist of several thousands of nephrons. The nephron separate the nitrogenous waste from the blood and excrete the urea. Since the frog excrete urea as its nitrogenous waste material, it is coming under ureotelic organism. A pair of ureters emerges from the kidneys and open into the cloaca. A pair of ureters which emerge out from the kidney and opens into the cloaca. A thin-walled unpaired urinary bladder is present ventral to the rectum and opens into the cloaca. So a thin-walled unpaired urinary bladder is present ventral to the rectum and opens into the cloaca. So urine are passed through the cloaca only. And reproductive system, the male frog has a pair of testes which are attached to the kidney and the dorsal body wall by folds of peritoneum called mesochium. In male reproductive system of frog, it has a pair of testes. These testes are attached to the kidney and the dorsal body wall by the fold of peritoneum called mesochium. So the testis is attached with kidney as well as with the body wall by a folds of peritoneum called mesochium. Vas efferentia arise from each testis. They enter the kidneys on both sides and open into the bladder canal. So vas efferentia which arise from each testis. These vas efferentia enter the kidneys on both sides and open into the bladder canal. Finally, it communicates with the urinogenital duct that comes out of kidneys and open into the cloaca. Finally, this bladder canal communicate with the urinogenital duct that comes out of the kidney and opens into the cloaca. So reproductive cells also eliminate through the cloaca only. Next, about female reproductive system of frog, which consists of paired ovaries attached to the kidneys and dorsal body wall by a fold of peritoneum called mesovarium. In female also the reproductive structure called pair of ovaries which also attached to the kidney and also body wall by a peritoneum called mesovarium. There is a pair of coiled oviducts lying on the sides of the kidneys. Each oviduct open into the body cavity at the anterior end by a funnel-like opening called ostia. Each oviduct opens into the body cavity at the anterior end by a funnel-like opening, and the funnel-like opening is called ostia. Unlike the male frog, the female frog has separate genital duct distinct from ureters. So unlike the male frog, the female frog has separate genital duct which is distinct from the ureters. Posteriorly, oviduct dilated to form ovisacs. So in the anterior region, the oviduct form a funnel shaped structure called ostia. At the same time, on the posterior side, the oviduct dilated to form a ovisacs before they open into a cloaca. Ovisacs store the eggs temporarily before they are sent out through the cloaca. Fertilization is external. External fertilization means a fusion of male and female gamete outside the body. In frog, during breeding season, in the water, the male frog release the sperm and female frog release the ovum, and randomly there is a mating. So the fertilization is external, that is outside the body. So fertilization is outside, that is external fertilization. Within few days of fertilization, the eggs catch into tadpoles. Then after that, the eggs are catched into tadpoles. A newly catched tadpole lives off the yolk stored in its body. It gradually grows larger and develops 3 pairs of gills. The tadpole grows and metamorphoses into an air-breathing carnivorous adult frog. So after fertilization, within few days, the eggs are catched into a next stage called tadpoles. A newly catched tadpoles live off the yolk stored in its body. Then it gradually grows. This tadpole gradually grows larger and develops 3 pairs of gills. The tadpole grows and metamorphoses into an air-breathing carnivorous adult frog. Legs grow from the body. and the tail and gills disappear. When it attains the fully matured frog, the gills are disappeared, tail also disappeared, and it developed legs and adapted to live on the terrestrial mode of life. The mouth broadens, developing teeth and jaws, and the lungs become functional. Okay. When it was in the water, gills are the respiratory unit. When it attained the fully structure, that is on the land, it started to breathe by lungs. Next, economic importance of frog. Frog is an important animal in the food chain. It helps to maintain our ecosystem, so frog should be protected. Since actually food chain is very essential to maintain the ecosystem, so frog should be protected. Frog are beneficial to man since they feed on insects and helps in reducing insect pest population. Since the frog feed on pest, it reduces the pest population and reduce the pest attack on plants. Frogs are used in traditional medicine for controlling blood pressure and for its anti-aging properties. Medicinally, frog is used for controlling blood pressure and also act as an anti-aging properties. In USA, Japan, China, northeast of India, frog are consumed as delicious food as they have high nutritive values. So these are the economic importance of frog. You can mark it for 3 mark question, children. So with this we completed this chapter, children. Children, please coming to next chapter. Children, now we start chapter 5, digestion and absorption. It's a human physiology chapter. What is you know very well what is mean by digestion and which are the organs involved in it, how the foods are get digested, all you know very well. You learn the basic of this in your lower classes. Okay, in this lesson we are going to discuss digestive system, digestion of food and role of digestive enzyme, absorption and assimilation of protein, carbohydrate and fat, digestion, caloric value of carbohydrates, proteins and fats, then nutritional and digestive disorders we are going to see. We all eat food. If you do not take a breakfast in the morning, how do you feel by noon? The food we eat provide energy and organic substances for growth and for replacement of worn and damaged tissue. It also regulates and coordinates the various activities that takes place in our body. The components of our food: carbohydrate, protein, lipid, vitamins, minerals, fiber and water. We obtain food from plant and animal sources. The food we eat are macromolecules and cannot directly enter into our cells. These have to be broken into smaller micromolecules in absorbable forms, for which we need a digestive system. Plants, however, are autotrophs and synthesize their food. Hence, they do not require a digestive system. The primary function of the digestive system in animals is to bring the nutrients, water and electrolytes from the external environment into every cells in the body through the circulatory system. Let's see about digestive system. The process of digestion involves intake of the food, that is ingestion, breakdown of the food into micromolecules, that is digestion, absorption of this molecule into the bloodstream, that is called absorption, and the absorbed substance becoming components of the cells, that is absorbed food are transported to all the parts of body and and form the components of cells, and this process is called assimilation, and elimination of the undigested substance, that is called digestion. So there are 5 processes involved in the digestive system: ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation and digestion. And about the structure of digestive system, if we see, there are 2 structure involved in the digestive system: alimentary canal and digestive glands. Alimentary canal and digestive glands. Structure of alimentary canal: the alimentary canal is a continuous muscular digestive tract that begins with the anterior opening the mouth and opens out posteriorly through the anus. So animal alimentary canal, which consists of alimentary canal which starts from the mouth and end with the anus. Alimentary canal consists of the parts such as mouth, buccal cavity, pharynx, esophagus, stomach, intestine, rectum and anus. The mouth is concerned with the reception of food and leads to the buccal cavity or oral cavity. So mouth is a parts where it receives the food, and the mouth leads into a cavity called buccal cavity or oral cavity. Mechanical digestion is initiated in the buccal cavity by chewing with the help of teeth and tongue. Chemical digestion is through salivary enzymes secreted by the salivary glands. Actually, there are 2 types of digestion has taken place in the mouth. One is mechanical strength, another one is chemical digestion. In mechanical digestion, the teeth and tongue masticate the food and make the partial digestion, and chemical digestion include digestion of food by the enzyme secreted by the salivary gland. Each tooth is embedded in a socket in the jawbone. This type of attachment is called thecodont. Human beings and many mammals form 2 sets of teeth during their lifetime: a set of 20 temporary milk teeth which gets replaced by a set of 32 permanent teeth. So there are 2 types of teeth in the life cycle of human being, we can see. One is temporary teeth, another one is permanent teeth. The temporary teeth are 20 in number, which are replaced by a permanent teeth, that is 32 in number. So since 2 types of teeth are present in the lifetime of human, it is called as typiodont. The permanent teeth are 4 different types: heterodont, namely incisors, which are sessile-like cutting teeth; canine, it is dagger-shaped tearing teeth; premolars for grinding and molars for grinding and crushing. Arrangement of teeth in each half of the upper and lower jaw in order to incisors, canines, premolars and molars can be represented by a dental formula. In human, the dental formula is 2, 1, 2, 3 divided by 2, 1, 2, 3, that is 2 incisors, 1 canine, 2 premolars and 3 molars respectively in the upper and lower jaw. Mineral salts like calcium and magnesium are deposited on the teeth and form a hard layer of tartar or calculus called plaque. So sometimes the mineral salts like calcium and magnesium deposited on the teeth and which form a layer called tartar or calculus, which is called plaque. If the plaque formed on the teeth is if not removed regularly, it would spread down the teeth into the narrow gap between the gums and enamel and causes inflammation called gingivitis. So if the tartar or calculus, that is the plaque is not removed properly, what happened? It spread to the teeth in between the gap and form a inflammation in the teeth called gingivitis, which leads to redness, bleeding of the gums and to bad smell. The hard chewing surface of the teeth is made of enamel and helps in mastication of food. Tongue which is freely movable muscular organ attached at the posterior end by the frenulum to the floor of the buccal cavity and is free in the front. Okay, tongue, which is freely movable muscular organ, which is attached at the posterior end, which is attached at the posterior end by frenulum to the floor of the buccal cavity, and it's free in the front. It acts as a universal toothbrush and helps in intake of food, chew and mix food with saliva, to swallow food and also to speak. These are the function of tongue. The upper surface of the tongue has small projection called papillae. This papillae has a taste bud which help to realize the taste of the food. The oral cavity leads into a short common passage for food and air called pharynx. The pharynx is a common passage through which food as well as air is passed. The esophagus and trachea open into the pharynx. Food passes into the esophagus through a wide opening called gullet at the back of the pharynx. A cartilaginous fluff called epiglottis prevents the entry of food into the glottis during swallowing. Two masses of lymphoid tissue called tonsils are also located at the sides of the pharynx. Next, esophagus is a thin, long muscular tube concerned with the conduction of food to a J-shaped stomach passing through the neck, thorax and diaphragm. A cardiac sphincter regulate the opening of esophagus into the stomach. Esophagus open into the stomach. In between where the esophagus open into the stomach, there is a sphincter called esophageal sphincter which regulate the food to pass from the esophagus to stomach. If the cardiac sphincter does not contract properly during churning action of the stomach, the gastric juice with acid may flow back into the esophagus and cause heartburn resulting in GERD. So when the cardiac sphincter is not closed or contract properly during churning action of the food, the stomach content along with the acid return back to the esophagus and cause heartburn resulting in GERD. The stomach function as the temporary storage organ for food and is located in the upper left portion of the abdominal cavity. Actually, it consists of three parts. One is cardiac portion into which esophagus open, and the second one is fundic portion and pyloric portion that opens into the duodenum. The opening of the stomach into the duodenum is guarded by pyloric sphincter. So like esophagus and the opening between the esophagus and stomach, there is a sphincter called cardiac sphincter. Same way, where the stomach open into the duodenum, it also guarded by a sphincter called pyloric sphincter. It periodically allows partially digested food to enter the duodenum and also prevent regulation of food. The inner wall of the stomach has many folds called gastric rugae, which unfolds to accommodate a large meal. Next, small intestine. This I will continue in my next class, children. And the homework for today's portion is economic importance of frog and male and female reproductive system of frog. These are the two questions you will have as a homework. Complete and send it to me. Bye, ma.